If you're in the market for a Hyundai Ioniq 5, then stay tuned because I've got the prices for the 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 5 coming out relatively soon. So if you want to find out how prices are changing for the new model year, then stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's the Ioniq Guy. My name is Corbin. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. I cover all things Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, EVs, and thanks for stopping by. So the topic of today's video, prices for the 2024 Ioniq 5 here in the United States. So a little birdie shared with me today the price sheets for the 2024 Ioniq 5s. So let's not waste any time. Let's just dive in and look at the prices. So across the board, for the most part, prices are up. So starting out with the SE standard range rear-wheel drive, that is the small battery pack, that is going to see a $200 price increase from $41,450 to $41,650. SE rear-wheel drive, that's basically the SE standard range with a bigger battery pack, is going from $45,500 to $45,700, another $200 price increase. SE all-wheel drive, which just adds a second motor and a heat pump, is $49,200, up from $49,000, so another $200 price increase. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. The SEL rear-wheel drive used to cost $47,450. This year, it's going to cost $47,250. So a $200 price decrease, which if you've seen one of my more recent videos talking about what's being omitted from the SEL in 2024, you would expect that price to be dropping considerably then, because they are leaving out many features. And if you want to check out that video where I go over all those features that are missing, check out the link in the description or at the end of this video. But yeah, I am a little surprised that it's not going down any more than that. I just don't think a $200 price decrease warrants the amount of features that they are omitting for the 2024 model year. I would have liked to see that be at least $500 to $1,000 of price decrease, but oh well. The SEL all-wheel drive is going from $50,950 to $50,750. So another $200 price decrease. Limited rear-wheel drive is going from $52,600 to $53,350, an increase of $750. And same for the limited all-wheel drive, price increase from $56,500 to $57,250. So decent price increase across the board for the limited trims. And the limited trims are pretty big sellers here in the United States. People love their top-end features here. It makes sense to me that they're raising prices at the higher end. Obviously, I would have liked to seen price decreases considering the ongoing price war from Tesla and just how competitive that car is now, especially considering until the end of this year at least, it gets the full $7,500 tax credit. Now, when looking back 2 years to the 2022 model year, when I bought my Ioniq 5, that's where you start to see a little bit of a trend that is definitely not ideal. So the SE standard range rear-wheel drive in 2022, when the car first entered the US market, was less than $40,000, $39,700. That is a price increase of almost $2,000 over the last 2 model years. SE rear-wheel drive, same, $2,050 increase. Same with the SE all-wheel drive. Now looking at the SELs since 2022, both rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive have increased to $1,350. And now the limited trims. Since 2022, they've increased in price $2,750. That is not an insignificant price increase. At least on the rear-wheel drive, that's over 5% in just 2 model years. And the car has not really changed. There were very few changes in 2023, and there were very few changes going from 2023 to this new model year. So looking at this, the limited all-wheel drive was actually a steal. It was $54,500 back in 2022. I, myself, personally regret not just stepping up from the SEL all-wheel drive. Right now, that feels like a bargain at $5,000 going from the SEL all-wheel drive. Now in 2024, you're talking a $6,500 price difference between the SEL all-wheel drive and the limited all-wheel drive. That is such a big price to pay to go to the limited all-wheel drive. And at that kind of price difference, I don't know if I could justify it. $5,000, okay, but $6,500, that's just getting a little out of hand. And now in 2024, the difference between an SE and an SEL is so little that I don't even know if I could recommend anybody buy an SEL at this point. I would say just go with an SE. I honestly don't know what to think now with this pricing. I wanted a mid-level trim SEL. My 2022 is very well featured compared to the 2024 SEL. If you're now paying close to $60,000 for a limited all-wheel drive Ioniq 5, I would say go look at a Genesis GV60. The base GV60 can be had for a little over $60,000, and it is a much nicer interior than the Ioniq 5. Just quality-wise, material-wise, it's a step above the Ioniq 5s. Now, the world of incentives does exist for the Ioniq 5. You can finance directly through Hyundai for 1% APR. If you want to bring your own financing, you can get a $5,000 discount on the SE Standard Range SE SEL. The Limited gets a $2,000 discount. And if you currently own a Hyundai product or lease a Hyundai, you can save an additional $2,500 across the board on top of all those. So on the Limited, you can save $4,500, and the SEL and below, you can save $7,500. There's also the lease loophole where you can lease a car directly from Hyundai, and on top of getting the $7,500 tax credit on that car, you can also get that additional $2,500 in incentives if you're a current owner or lessee. So for the most part, these cars can be had for between $5,000 and $10,000 off with all the incentives. Now, me personally, I recommend leasing these cars. We just don't know where the technology is going to be in a couple years. I just saw the other day that Toyota's promising 600-mile range cars by 2026. So I just think battery technology is going to advance so quickly. Battery charging is going to get better and better. So I have a feeling in a few years, these cars are going to depreciate steeply. And let Hyundai take that burden. Don't take that burden yourself by being totally upside down on a vehicle loan for one of these cars. So we can't talk pricing without talking about the elephant in the room, and that is the Tesla Model Y. So the Tesla Model Y is currently stickering for $50,490. That puts it almost lockstep in line with the Ioniq 5 SEL all-wheel drive. Now, I personally have never been in a Tesla Model Y, so I can't speak to what that compares like in any way, shape, or form. But if you wanted to lease a Tesla Model Y today, you were talking about $569 per month versus you could lease an SEL all-wheel drive for probably $500 a month. So you could lease an Ioniq 5 a little bit less than leasing a Tesla Model Y. Now, I don't know if you should do that. I'm just saying you can if you want to. Tesla does not pass along the $7,500 tax credit when you lease a Tesla. So it's not similar to Hyundai in that regard. Now, obviously, the Tesla Model Y qualifies for the full federal tax credit. So after that, you're looking at about $43,000. Now, again, I can't really speak to the Model Y because I've never driven one. I am planning on renting one in the near future because I need to experience a Tesla Model Y to see what the hype is about. But from what I gather from watching videos and hearing reviews from other people, I feel like the Tesla Model Y, it probably sits between the SEL and the limited trim of the Ioniq 5. I think the limited Ioniq 5 is very well featured. It has a lot of creature comforts, a lot of cool stuff that the Model Y does not have. So I feel like this is kind of in between the SEL and the limited. But if you think that way, then it's definitely cheaper than the Ioniq 5. I mean, the Tesla Model Y has like a 14 or 17 speaker sound system. In the SEL Ioniq 5, it's 6-speaker, and it sounds bad. So I think there's a lot of niceties that the Tesla offers that the Ioniq 5 just doesn't at its price point. But anyway, that's enough about Tesla. Just do your research, test drive these cars, find out what you like. But I still think that for 2024, the SEL Ioniq 5 is a bad buy. I think they took way too much out of it. I can't recommend an SEL anymore. I think it's either SE or limited. I don't think this SEL gives you much of anything over the SE that's worth paying for. Especially like here in Connecticut, our cutoff to receive our state EV incentives is $50,000. So the SEL all-wheel drive would not qualify here in the state of Connecticut. It's $750 over. The SE all-wheel drive is $49,200, so it would qualify. So I think I would take the $2,200 in savings from the state of Connecticut, plop that on top of the SE all-wheel drive, and call it a day. I definitely don't think the SEL all-wheel drive would warrant a $3,800 price difference over an SE all-wheel drive like here in the state of Connecticut. I personally think if you're in the market for an Ioniq 5 today, as in middle of September 2023, go out and buy an SEL right now. Don't wait for 2024. You're losing too many of the things that the SEL has had for the last 2 model years. So I think go out and buy right now if you're in the market for an SEL. If you're in the market for an SE, I don't think it really matters. $200 price difference isn't very much. If you're in the market for a limited, I would also recommend just going out and buying a limited today if you can. I don't think the digital rear view mirror in the 2024 warrants a $750 price increase. So I would say go buy a limited today if you want one. So if you guys aren't familiar with what's changing for 2024, check out this video here. I go over all the details, everything that's changing. So if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.